but I've had several psychics here saying that at one time there was a serial killer that lived here. And that they would take children, because there's a lot of children's spirits here. They would take children off the orphan train and they would just disappear.
So we have just arrived in Bergen, New York, and on the way to the house, we found the train tracks, and we also saw that the swamp is actually right here, better known today as the Drew Nature Center. It's looks like it's like a wildlife preserve. So we're just going to give you guys a quick look into what's over here. It's got us Brad and Derek coming at you from Bergen, New York. You guys, behind me is the Bergen Swamp, which was formed 20,000 years ago. And the local folklore here is that witches and all type of, I guess you could say, occult happenings had over here, or even though the occult has different meanings to different people, but it's said that people come down here and practice satanic rituals and stuff like that. So yeah, we don't exactly know what happened here, but that's exactly why we're here, to try to figure out, try to communicate with any spirits that are still here and try to get answers for you guys. So we're about to head back up the road about a mile to the Bergen House, and then we will get some answers, hopefully. Yeah.
The original part of the house was built in 1858, so it is pre-Civil War.
Okay.
It was built in 3 stages. This kitchen here to the front and this front room, as well as a large porch that used to be on the house, was all put there during the Depression, during the 30s and 40s, by a farmer that lived here. And these 2 rooms here on the end, my dad knocked down, it was like a woodshed type of deal.
Okay.
He knocked it down and he added 2 larger rooms.
Gotcha.
And our barn, this barn was built in 1888 by a German family that lived here.
Okay.
And it originally had a gabled roof, and again, during the Depression, when Mr. Fable was here, he updated the barn and he changed the roof. There've been 2 hangings in this barn.
2? Okay.
2.
We only knew.
Yeah.
There was 2. Teenage boy that hung himself, and his name was Robert. And he was a twin. And his brother was allowed to go away to school and, become educated, and he was forced to stay here and work on the farm. And he didn't get much help for it, and he became despondent, and he hung himself. These are telephone poles.
Yeah.
So these were put here when Mr. Fable redid the roof during the Depression. Now the girl that hung herself, it was between 1845 and 1855. They weren't sure of the exact dates because Bergen has had 3 major fires and it destroyed a lot of their records. We don't get a straight name out of her. She is told us several different names, so we just call her Catherine.
Catherine?
Because there is a Catherine in the house.
Okay.
She was the daughter of the German family.
Okay.
But she has shown herself here many times.
Like right on this pole right here?
This beam right here.
Beam.
They've asked her, where did you die? Because she committed suicide. She was a teenage woman. She was pregnant.
Yep.
And her...
Brad, it's early, man.
It's a cat. We're debunking it's a cat.
And
she
was having an affair with a married man who happened to be one of the justices.
Okay.
And he didn't want anything to do with it when he found out she was pregnant. So she became despondent and hung herself. But she will show herself on this beam quite often. If you have like an SLS type camera, that will pick that up. For people that don't normally do this but want to see what it's like, I brought psychics and people with equipment in. And we were in here and we were doing an EVP session. And things in the back got thrown and there was like warning across the roof. Two of the men that were here grabbed their girlfriends and they were like, we're out of here.
Really?
They were here for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, oh no.
That's what
No, like,
that's what we live for.
I know, right?
When that stuff happens, my first reaction is just get out, and then like give me
I
2
want to
minutes.
stay there.
Yeah, well, you give me 2 minutes to recover, and I go back in. But it's just
Right.
that initial.
Yep.
I
Oh, the
was
initial
doing
shock.
a
Yes,
tour.
I hear it.
I was doing like a little history type tour here one day for 2 people that came from out of state, and we were sitting right here, and the other side of this wall here, you could see just a black mass, and it was about light like now. It went all the way down, blocked out the lights of the windows, and went across the back. And you know how it sounds when a kid has a stick on a fence?
Yeah.
Imagine that, but going really fast, really, really loud. And when it got to the end, he threw the stick and said,
Inside this barn here.
loudly. Those people stood up and they're like, "Are you kidding me?" I was
Inside
like,
here
"No."
we had what's his name there from
Rob Thompson.
Rob Thompson. He went down in
He
here
actually
because
went right to
they
the ground
got
here.
the spirits got so bad to him.
Yeah.
Is he a psychic?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's got his own spirit channel. He's
Oh, okay.
He's
we
on
were
the Travel
Spirit-
Channel.
Oh,
That's
So-
insane.
Ghost Finders.
Ghost
gotcha.
Hunters, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He went down in here. We had to pull another person out of the upstairs room
Right.
to bring him down here to get him up out of it.
I had to go get another psychic because I didn't know what to do when somebody like that gets
Yeah.
attacked. It
That's
scared me.
That's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
can't.
you know, and you don't think to have somebody be like, you know, what do I do should this happen?
Yeah.
There was a branch up here behind this little skinny one that came straight out. And I used to tell my dad took it down because I told him I used to see men in it.
Oh, is that the one that they?
Yeah.
This is the tree that.
And you could actually see rope marks. You know how if you have a tire swing or something in a tree and move it,
Eats
you
into
could,
the.
yeah, you could actually, it had a couple of those on it.
So, have you ever had anybody come to this house as a full-blown skeptic and then left saying, "Okay, there's."
There's videos online.
have videos
Okay.
on that too.
Yeah. Now, when I was a little girl, up until my teenage years, this right here was a gigundous garden where these trees are. Huge garden my mother had. Now, when I was probably about 5, my dad was out here tilling up the ground. And it was about even with this big walnut tree, right about here. And he found part of a woman's body. We found hair, chunks of reddish blonde hair. It had silver in it, still curled, no skull, just chunks of hair. Maybe 7 or 8 vertebrae. A piece of white cloth that looked like it had been ripped down the front. But it was pure clean. It wasn't wrinkled. And it was just laying in the dirt. You'd think for being in the dirt all that time. Or,
Yeah.
you know, it'd be filthy. Rotting, right?
Yeah.
It was pristine, like brand new cloth. And there was a pile, maybe a dozen or so, little tiny handmade buttons. And you could tell they were handmade because they were rough around the edges. And they had little tiny blue rosebuds painted on them. And there was a locket, and it was about that big, had a big, heavy, long chain on it. And when we opened it up, it had 2 people inside it. And the pictures were in perfect condition. It was a man and a woman, and I recognized those people as spirits I had seen here as a kid, you know, walking around, thinking they were real people. Until I went to school and learned that most people don't have that going on. It wasn't normal. My dad disposed of it. He never bothered to call the police. Now, we've had psychics here say that there's several bodies
Still here?
buried throughout this property, and some of them might have been put in pieces, or it could have been like, you know, people buried their family on their property back then.
Yeah, it
So
wasn't
could have been
abnormal.
like a shallow grave, and through the years, you know, with erosion and whatnot, that's what washed down from wherever she may have been buried.
Or even animals could be
Right.
spreading it around.
Right.
Yeah.
We do have 3 possible grave mounds in the back.
So you literally just abandoned it. You just said, "Okay,
We
we're."
did, and it was empty for like 8 years. And my mother didn't want to sell it to another family and have like children or anything go through what we did as kids here. So I asked my dad before he passed away if he had a problem with me bringing people in to figure out why it's haunted and if they could do anything about it so my mom could sell the property. And we have had people come in. We had an exorcist here, and we released quite a few spirits other times, but there are still several here.
Yeah.
And I told them as long as they behave themselves, they don't have to go.
Gotcha.
You know, But
Yep.
they said even if the house were to fall down, it would still be haunted here.
Yeah.
There would always be something. So we just decided to keep it in the family and try to repair it. There's a large mound and 2 small ones. There's a lot of trash back here too, because this is one of the places people dumped garbage. Can you see it?
We're just like straight ahead there?
Yeah, straight ahead.
Yeah.
And on our spirit box, it said that there was 11 people buried back here.
All right, so we just finished our outside walkthrough and we are now going inside.
I used to be terrified of this place, but like after talking to investigators like yourself and whatnot, and psychics, I have relaxed quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I realized that they're just people reaching out. And that there's only a few of them here that are not pleasant. And we do have at least one that is a non-human spirit, and he will tell you he's a non-human spirit. You'll probably meet him in the hallway.
Perfect.
Wally has seen him almost every day for a few weeks at a time. So in order to try to get sleep and to feel protected and safe and try to keep these spirits out of the room, he went online and he looked for protection symbols.
Oh, okay.
And that's the ones we used for our t-shirts.
Yeah. I remember seeing that in the video too.
Yeah, so I kept the door.
Nice.
And all these holes and whatnot in the door was my boys trying to get out of here when whatever was in the house didn't want them to leave the room. The stairway door is the same. And my boys are big. They're both over 6 foot.
Oh, so this wasn't like little boys doing this.
No,
this was
they were
grown men.
They were teenagers,
Grown-
17, 18 years old,
They
and
couldn't
in
get
their
out.
early 20s.
They couldn't get out the door.
Yeah, the door was held shut.
By the spirit?
By the
the
spirit.
entity?
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah.
All right.
So keep the doors open.
Now this used to be, this is the original entrance to the 1858 part of the house.
Okay.
But we used to have bunk beds here. In
Okay.
fact, this is the room when I was still a baby in my crib over here. I couldn't even stand without holding on to something.
Yeah.
And I had people come in my room.
Those
But,
3 figures that came in.
Yeah.
So this is the room where you get the doll.
Yep. There was a dresser, a tall dresser here that had the doll on it.
Yeah.
That would walk back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah. But we had our bunk beds here. And you could just feel the heaviness when you were in here. And it would be a black mass. And we would sit very still and very quiet and just hope that it wouldn't mess with us and just go.
This is the closet.
That's the closet that the young man walked into.
Yeah.
It was dressed in like the old-fashioned Navy type. And that was a bright and early Saturday morning I saw him. When you're in this room, well, not just this room, it's quite a few of the other rooms. If you're sleeping in here at night, you'll feel like somebody bumping the end of the bed.
I remember.
And sometimes you will see people.
I saw that.
Orbs in here, shadows in here. This used to be the kitchen, and there was a fire in here at one point in the 1800s. Her name is Karina, but she prefers Cora. And they've got her on videotape when I was talking to people. I come towards the door, and she would start to sing a lullaby.
I saw that video too.
And I would leave, and she would stop. And when I would come, like 3 or 4 times, because we picked up on it, we were testing it. And she would pick up right where she left off. And Channel 21, I think it was, the producer came. And she speaks fluent German. She was the first person here that could speak fluent German. And she was talking to Karina, and she goes, will you show herself? And right in that corner, you can see orb.
Yeah, it came up like
Yeah, yeah,
like right over here.
yeah. And she did it a few times when she asked.
Yeah, because I mean, the dude's like,
And she
acknowledge that he saw it.
She was not allowed to film upstairs. Her equipment would not work at all. Their phones wouldn't work. The minute
Yeah, I
she
remember
hit
seeing
the
that.
bottom of
Yeah,
the
'cause
stairs,
she's like, as soon as we enter here, everything shut off, and then we came downstairs and it turned back on.
when we came through the kitchen doorway, I don't know if you noticed the rosary hanging on the wall.
No, I didn't.
I have a couple of rosaries in different places and Bibles strategically.
Strategically placed.
Her phone would not work. That rosary started swinging, and it came out from the wall and held.
If I
Like
can get that
somebody
on
was
camera,
holding
that'll
it.
be worth.
And she's like, am I seeing that? Am I seeing that? My first experience with the non-human Robert
Yeah.
was on that side of the room. He would stand in my room every night. And I was terrified. And we would leave this light on, like a night light.
That was my
You know,
toes cracking.
because so much happened to us as kids. And there was my dad had built a closet there, but before there was a closet there, it was just a little short wall.
Yeah.
And I had like a trunk with a small makeup mirror on it. So I would turn away from him and I'd try to watch him in the mirror, and there was no reflection. But if I'd look back at him, I could see him like, he looked solid, but he was in shadow. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And finally, after like 3 or 4 months, I finally had the courage to talk to him. And it was because he did something that made me think he wasn't such a bad guy after all. My little sister had kicked her blanket off. He walked over and he had covered her up and went and stood back in the corner. And he went and stood back in the corner. I thought, aw, that's kind of nice. Maybe I shouldn't be so afraid of him. So I asked him what his name was and what he wanted. And he told me, he goes, the spirits here are afraid of me. I'm not a human spirit. And I like you. You got spunk. You know? You're tenacious is what he called me. I amused him. I would make him laugh with my antics. So he goes, as long as I stand here, you can sleep. They won't bother you. They won't wake you up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I saw him all the way up into my 30s. I actually moved to Rochester after I got married. And he would wake me up. He didn't like my husband so much. Sorry, Paul, because I know you're here too. But he would wake me up. Wake us both up. Like if my husband touched me, like put his arm around me while we were being, get your arm off of her. You know, he was not pleased with him at all.
And so you not only EVPs, but you hear audible voices.
Audible. And we have things move. We had, I don't even remember the name of the group that was here.
That was my phone right here.
We were watching, yeah, we got some soft boards. We had a group here, I don't remember which group it was, but we were downstairs watching them on the monitors, and they had a REM pod in the middle of this table. And all of a sudden, they started screaming like somebody was dying. That REM pod went from this end of the table and shot right down the other end. Just went like 100 miles an hour.
Did they get it on film at all?
I think they did. I wish
awesome.
I could. It might have been Bearded Paranormal, but
Yeah.
I am not 100% sure. So there is a chair in here.
Saw
if
that.
you want to sit in here. You will definitely know when someone comes in because they come in from behind.
Ooh.
And you will feel it.
Okay.
When it gets dark. Notice how this room feels to you now.
Yeah.
And then notice how it feels to you when you come up here.
At the night.
The whole energy shifts and changes.
I know that slavery wasn't too long ago, but believe it or not, there's still some very bad things that happen due to people's skin color. And our generation is trying to stop that.
I did. No shit.
Oh shit.
Wow.
That's clear as fucking day.
Yeah, it is.
Say if you sit in this chair right here, I don't know if you guys can see it. Brad's gonna come in here with a light, hopefully, so I don't get murdered. If you sit in this chair with your back to it, they say you can feel a rush behind you.
When the residents come through.
Yeah. So let's test it out. Hey Brad, you want to bring the spirit box right in this closet with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Brad's gonna bring the spirit box. What the fuck was that? There's something behind me.